Well, good morning, Hill City Church. I'm so glad to see you here today. We're all so glad to see you, and a special welcome to our online family. Wherever you're joining us from today, come on and stand with us. We're going to worship together in God together in this place. Let's put our hands together. Hey. Sing, see the light breaking through all the lies and the truth. Hear the sound of the wind. Let the roar of heaven begin. Come on. Can't stay silent, can't stay still when you show up in power, glory revealed. Oh, I can't stay silent, can't stay still when I feel the fire, feel the, come on, sing. Heaven invade, heaven invade. There's freedom in this place. Every heart awaken, everything is changing now. Heaven invade. Come on, shout. Heaven invade. There's freedom in this place. Come on, we sing broken hearts on the mend. All depression must end. All the shame and the fear run away when you're here. Oh, I can't stay silent, can't stay still when you show up in power, glory revealed. Oh, I can't stay silent, can't stay still when I feel the fire. Come on, let me sing. Heaven invade. There's freedom in this place. Every heart awaken, everything is changing now. Heaven invade. There's freedom in this Heart starts to race and I can't contain the feeling of joy. Being in your presence, I can't help but dance, can't help but sing, and I don't really care what it. Come on, let's sing. My heart starts to race and I can't contain the feeling of joy. Being in your presence, I can't help but dance, can't help but sing, and I don't really care what anyone thinks. I don't really care what anyone thinks. Always staying His way. Heaven invade. Heaven invade. There's freedom in this place. Every heart awaken, everything is changing now. Heaven invade. Heaven invade. Come on. Oh, heaven invade. Come on, let's give Him a shout of praise. Come on. Oh,
Welcome to Hill City Church. We're so glad that you've joined us. At this time, we're going to dismiss the kids. Pastor Tish is probably at a door waving her hand like she cares. So kids, be gone, get out of here, and welcome all of you joining us online. As the kids are dismissed, I want to encourage all of you, if you're new around this space, we want to get to know you. We want to see how we can help you and plug you in if this is the place that you want to call home. In fact, if you're a first-time visitor, we call you a VIP. There's a lounge right in the lobby. You can't miss it. If you go there, there's going to be a pastor there who wants to meet you, greet you, and see how we can be praying for you this week. Speaking of prayer, if you have any prayer requests at any time, you can go to our homepage at hillcity.tv. There's a prayer request, a praise report option for you if you want to tell us what's going on in your life. We love to pray for you, but we can't pray for you unless you specifically let us know what is going on in your life. We would greatly appreciate that this week. Also, if you came ready to give, there's 3 ways that you can give. I think they're going to be on the screen behind me. If not, there's 3 ways to give. You'll figure it out. But we appreciate all of you who are generous in this house, and we thank you, all of you who sacrifice week in and week out so that we can continue to do ministry, not just locally here in Floyd's Knobs, but all over the world. I've got 2 announcements for you real quick. One, we're continuing that Pop-Tart drive in the month of February. If you can see as you came in the lobby, there's Pop-Tarts starting to stack up. Thank you so much for those of you who have already gotten Pop-Tarts. We're giving those to our ministry partners in Love City, right in our own Portland area, as they feed kids on a daily basis down in that ministry with Mighty Oak Academy. So if you want to pick up some Pop-Tarts at the grocery store this week, we would greatly appreciate that. And last but not least, the first Wednesday of March, we have our Gospel Circle. It's Wednesday night, starting at 6 p.m. We'd love for you to come be a part of that. We have childcare, food is provided, and you should make that a priority. I think it's March 5th, but I could be wrong. You just know it's the first Wednesday of March. Well, our lead pastor, Shannick, is actually in Amsterdam right now, way overseas, and he's got a special message for us this morning. Check this out.
Hey, what's up, Hill City? Pastor Shannick here in the Netherlands, if you can believe that. Brittany, Stevan, Jamie, Sean, and I are having such an amazing time here in this country. It's a beautiful country, and the conference has been going amazing. New Covenant Kingdom messages have been preached. People have been set free. And I just want to say thank you for praying for us right now. It's very windy and it's stormy here. It has been the whole time, but it has been beautiful. But I just want to let you know that I believe today, this Sunday, is going to be an incredible day for you. I pray that today you get just so encouraged through worship and empowered through the message as Pastor Derek is going to just preach such an incredible word today. And above everything else, as I lead you and as you head back into worship, I want you to know that you are loved and there's nothing you can do about it.
Oh, come on, church. Who's thankful for a God that says yes and amen every single time? We're going to sing Father of Kindness.
Father of kindness, you have brought out grace. You brought me out of darkness. You have filled me with peace. Giver of mercy, you're my help. I'm on need. Lord, I can't help but sing. Promises are yes and amen. Beautiful Savior, you have brought me near. You pull me from the ashes, you have broken every curse. Blessed Redeemer, you have set this captive free. And Lord, I can't help but sing. Oh, we sing faithful, faithful you are every time. Promises, yes and amen. Oh no.
of us and put our hands up in thankfulness, put our hands up in surrender. Oh, your faithfulness, oh, Lord, and I will rest in your promises. My confidence is your faithfulness, and I will rest in your promises. My confidence is your oh, I will rest in your promises. My confidence is your faithfulness, and I will rest in your promises. My confidence, oh, is your faithfulness, and faithful, faithful you are. Come on, let's give it up. That His promises are yes and amen. Oh, so faithful. Now, we sang this song last week. We introduced it. This is called The Table. So sing along if you know it. There is a table filled with the best food. Can you hear the Father calling? There's a seat just for you. And at this table, all is forgiven. Trading your chains of bondage for crowns of freedom. All are welcome at the table. There is a place just for you. No condemnation at the table. There is a place just for you, just for you. Oh,
just for you. There is a place just for you. I've tried so hard to see it. It took me so long to believe it, that you choose someone like me to carry your victory. Perfection could never earn it. You give what we don't deserve it. You take the broken pieces and raise them to glory. You are my champion. Giants fall when you stand undefeated. Every battle you won. I am who you say I am. You crown me with confidence. I am seated in the heavenly place undefeated, with the one who has conquered it all. And now I can finally see it. You're teaching me how to receive it. So let all the striving cease. This is my victory. You are my champion. Giants fall when you stand undefeated. Every battle you won. And I am who you say I am. You crown me with confidence.
just sit in this moment right now? This moment of knowing that every single one of us is welcome and part of the table. I remember whenever Corey first told me that, and that I was a part of the table, and I didn't believe it for the longest time. I walked around without confidence of not knowing what was already being freely given to me, and that I just needed to awaken to the fact that I am at the table, that I am loved, that I am worthy, that I'm beautiful. And I love what Ephesians 2 says. This is Ephesians 2:16. Two have now become one, and we live restored to God and reconciled in the body of Christ. Through his crucifixion, hatred has died. For the Messiah has come to preach the sweet message of peace to you, the ones who were distant, and to those who are near. And now, because we are united to Christ, we both have equal and direct access in the realm of the Holy Spirit to come before the Father. So you are not foreigners or guests, but rather you are the children of the city of the holy ones, and with all the rights as family members of the household of God. And that is good news, church. Can we just sit in that for a minute? Can we just sit in that good news that we are part of the table, that God is our champion? I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation. He'll never let me down. Let me hear you sing it. Oh, yes, oh, we sing as one. He'll never let me down. Sing, I put my faith. Oh, yes, I do. My anchor to the my hope and firm foundation. He'll never let. Oh, we sing it louder now. I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation. He'll never let me down. Oh, he'll never let me down. Oh, I know you are my champion. Come on. Giants fall when you stand undefeated. Every battle you won, I am yours, and I am. You crown me with confidence. I am seated in the heavenly place, undefeated. By the power of your name, I am seated in the heavenly place, undefeated. With the one who has conquered it all. Hallelujah.
Come on, Hill City, don't stop right there. Come on, let's keep those hands going. You can open your mouth too and say, God, I thank you for reminding me how you feel about me. I thank you for reminding me your thoughts towards me. Hallelujah. I hope there's some people that's just like me. Isn't it good when worship reminds you how God feels about you? Isn't it good when a song reminds you that regardless of what you've done, you're still permanently connected to the Father? Regardless of how you feel, regardless of what the morning has looked like for you, regardless of what type of attitude you woke up in, to be reminded that I serve a God that regardless of what goes on around me, he's still God, and he still loves me, and he's still working on my behalf, and he's still showing himself strong in my life. I don't know about you, but that makes me very excited to be a part of worship that reminds me of who I am. Look at your neighbor and say, I know who I am. I know who I am. Can we give it up for the worship team this morning? Come on, y'all can do better than that. Come on, they did an amazing job. It's so good to be here with you guys and stand before you. I feel like it's been a minute, but I'm excited to be here. I'm excited about this series, but I'm gonna have to be, I need to be very honest with you guys. Is that cool with y'all? I don't know how I feel about messages like these. Inclusion. I don't really know how I feel, and I wrestled with that for the last few weeks while I was getting my thoughts together for this particular message. And I don't really know how I feel about these type of messages because, and hear me out, the fact that we have to teach these things when all throughout Scripture, Jesus lived it out. And I'm sure most of us in here, we profess Christianity or we say we believe in Jesus. We are followers of Jesus. And we claim that and we believe that and we read Scripture and we see Jesus live inclusion out. But yet and still, we have to teach this. We have to teach Jesus followers how to include everyone. That's what I'm bothered by. We have to teach Jesus followers how to treat everyone. That's what I'm bothered by. I can see, you ever have a teacher, I was in high school and I called a teacher out one time because she was teaching stuff that we didn't even see her do. But that's not the problem with Jesus. He was teaching things that he was living out. And majority of us in here, because, some of you could be wrestling with your faith. Some of you could be here just because you like the people here. You don't even believe in God. And that's cool. I love that you feel comfortable enough to be here. But most of us in here claim to be followers of Jesus Christ. A teacher who showed us everything that he taught. So I was wrestling with that truth, that we have to have messages like these to teach us how to include everyone and how to treat everyone, right? So when you look at the life of Jesus, Jesus ate with, sat with, lived with, served with everybody, right? Pastor Shannick brought out the tax collector that he lived with, and everybody was appalled that he was spending the night with a tax collector. We read about him being with a woman at the well, and everybody was appalled at how he drank water at the well with this woman, right? We see how he dealt with the racial tension and the cultural tension when he handled Samaritans, and people was appalled at how he treated those people. But Jesus lived these things out, and he didn't do it just because it looked good on his reputation. He didn't do it only when he was around certain people and in certain spaces. He didn't do it for those reasons. And I'm tackling those things because some of us can be like that. We know how to express temporary inclusivity in spaces where it's going to look good for us. We do it at church, we do it in the workplace, we do it in certain restaurants, we do it in certain spaces around certain people, right? We know how to show temporary inclusivity when we have to, right? But Jesus did these things because it was his heart. So the question I want to ask you is not, do you know how to include people when you come to church? Is, have you included people in your heart? Because what's in your heart is what's going to flow out in your actions. Right? In your heart. It was in Jesus' heart. Because let's be honest. Sitting around at the dinner table with different people is easy. We confront that. What's that, an hour and a half? 2 hours max if you wait on the food for too long. We actually have we got a universal script that we can all follow when it comes to sitting down at the dinner table with different people. You know, the usual, how are you? How you been? How's your kids? How's the job? And we got some new things to talk about. COVID, have you experienced COVID yet? Have you ever had to quarantine? You know, and if you do it right, those basic questions will last you, a max of 2 hours. You can spread that out. And then if it's a group of people that you with, you can spread your interaction around, so you really don't have to zone in on one conversation. You can really just spread it out. I could look at Pastor Linda. Hi, Pastor Linda, how you doing? You look good today. You know what I'm saying? How's your food taste? Good. Okay, all right. My man, how you doing? You know what I'm saying? It's good. You can spread it around. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to worry about one conversation with one person the whole time. So sitting around at the dinner table expressing temporary inclusivity is easy. That's easy. No, the part I want to challenge is, have you included people in your heart? Have you included people in your heart? And there's a story in the Bible that I thought was amazing. And I thought it pointed to some things I see today. Because again, when you look at the life of Jesus, this is what was dope about Jesus. People who were nothing like him liked him. People who were nothing like Jesus liked him, right? Jesus invited the most misbehaving, troublemaking women and men to follow him. And we who claim to follow that same Jesus should be known for liking people who are nothing like us. Should be known for liking people who are nothing like us, right? We should be totally fine with inviting, sitting with, serving with, living with, doing life with people who look, who think, who live, who dress completely different from us. Because let's be honest, it's easy to live in a circle full of people who look, sound, think just like you. And the truth is, some of us would rather do that because there's no work involved. It's just easy. I wake up in the house with people who look, sound, think like me, go to work with people who look, sound, think like me, live in a neighborhood with people. You ever go in those neighborhoods, it's like the military neighborhoods where all the houses look alike? And I was like, who can live in this type of neighborhood? I need some diversity in these neighborhoods. I'm hating on the designers. Yes, I am. I'm hating on whoever built these neighborhoods, because it's like, you can't even express yourself until Christmas time comes. Then you can put your Christmas lights up. But as soon as the lights come down, all the houses look the same, right? But it's easy to live in a circle with people who look, sound, think, dress, and everything just like you. But I want to challenge us, because as people who follow that same Jesus, we should be known for liking people who look just like us. And not only that, but when other people experience us, when they have a conversation with you, when they spend some time with you, they should be intrigued, if not inclined, to want what you have. They should be able to get up from the dinner table or leave your home or leave a conversation with you and be like, man, I love your approach to life. I love the way you talk to your children. I love the way you talk to your spouse. I really like how you handle things. I love how you respectfully and kindly disagree with people. I don't know about you, but that's a dope art to me. To be able to disagree with somebody and they not even feel offended that you disagree with them. Like, respectfully, I just disagree with you. I don't care about you just kindly said, yeah, I ain't with none of that. But they left your presence and was like, man, I could sit down with that brother again, because it was like, yeah, we don't see eye to eye on everything, but he didn't make me feel like an enemy. He didn't make me feel like, yeah, I can't sit with him anymore. You ever got up from the dinner table with people like that? Like, yep, it was the first and last dinner we'll ever have with him. Just not gonna do it, you know? And don't get me wrong, let's be real. Sometimes it's hard. You could be the bigger man in the situation, and you being kind, you being respectful, and you're having a respectful conversation, and some people just make it hard. And I ain't saying you gotta eat with everybody. I'm not saying that you gotta, just keep going to dinner with them. Boundaries is necessary. Some of us don't have the stamina or the capacity to deal with just anybody. I get it. But the general piece of your life, what people should always take, even the people who make it hard, they should still be able to look back at times and be like, man, I made it hard for that brother, but he never turned on me. Dude still offered me something. He still helped me in the time of need. He still invited me to places. He still said what's up to me, even though we disagree on certain things that's going on in this world. He still showed love. Right? So this is what we should be known for. This is what we should be known for. But you know what? I think I figured it out. Because again, I was bothered by the fact that we got to teach this. But then I came across something that was like, that's why it's hard to live this out. So there's this one thing that I want us to wrestle with, because it's something that you're not just going to get in one message, you're not going to get in just one day, but there's one thing that we are going to have to wrestle with in order for us to live out the life that Jesus lived out before us. There's just one thing. Can I tell y'all what this one thing is? This one thing. Y'all ready? Our implicit biases. This one thing that is a wedge between us living the life that Jesus lived out for us is our implicit biases. Don't get quiet on me. This ain't a black and white thing, because implicit bias is something that is, every gender does this, every race does this, every culture does this. It's not limited to any of those things. Everybody has an implicit bias. So you ain't got to freeze up on me. Here we go with the black and white message. This is not that. This is something that all of us do. So implicit bias is basically, and I'm paraphrasing, no, I ain't even going to paraphrase for you. I'm going to give you the real definition. I got it right here. So implicit bias is this right here. It's when we have attitudes towards people or associate stereotypes with them, listen, without our conscious knowledge. That stuck with me, that definition, because it was so easy, but it was so deep at the same time. It's our thoughts towards other people and the stereotypes we place on them without our conscious knowledge. That means you didn't intentionally do it. These thoughts and stereotypes came from you growing up and gaining certain information from your mom, dad, sister, brother, neighborhood, friends, cousins, uncles, aunties, whatever. And not even just there, but also in your movies and your music and all the media that comes across your TV and your phones. This is something that is built into our subconscious mind, so that when we are in certain spaces with certain people who don't look, sound, think, dress like us, we already have a preconceived notion that is wired in us from the time we were born all the way up to whatever age you are now, that we already perceive on someone else or project on someone else. Implicit bias, this is the wedge that's keeping us from living and loving like Jesus. This is the thing that's keeping churches separated. I spent a lot of time from West End Louisville, and there's about 25 churches on the same block. I don't even know how you do it, but it's done. Churches are right next to each other, but believe in two different Jesuses. Churches that are right next to each other, but ain't never fellowshiped a day in their existence. Churches that are right next to each other, that if one of your members park their car in their parking lot, they got an issue. Implicit bias. I already feel some type of way about you, and I don't even know why I feel that type of way. I was just raised to feel that type of way. This ain't just black and white. It ain't. It goes both ways. This is men and women. This is adults and children. You know, like some of us, you know, we already have preconceived notions about children as if you weren't one. Like we, you know, some people already deem kids as bad.
Right. Come on.
First of all, you was bad too. Second of all, children are mirrors. They only spit back at you what you put in them. So if your children are bad, I question where that bad came from. You look to the school system, and you know children are you know, the faculty and teachers already project a certain preconceived notion about children, and their educational success has failed before they even started. Because teachers and faculty already think a certain way about certain children. It's already tough enough that in public school systems you have one teacher that has to teach 27 to 32 kids. That's already tough. So teachers, I feel you. That's a lot of kids to manage. I still stumble at managing my 2. But to walk into the building already thinking children are a certain way, and then you teach and treat them from that thought. Implicit bias. Somebody say implicit bias. This is that wedge. This is that wedge that keeps us from living and loving the way Jesus wants us to do it. And this is something I really want us to grapple with, because this is something that took years to build. This is something that took years to build. I watch my children when they interact with other children. Children at a certain age, they don't have to deal with implicit bias. They don't see lines. They don't see anything. They don't see no boundaries. They don't see nothing. They don't care how the kid look, dress, smell, any of that. You know who put that in them? They parents did. They don't feel no type of way about nobody. They just play with whoever. Yeah, it can be kind of dangerous, but hey, I mean, they just don't have no boundaries to that. There's no implicit bias. They ain't got nothing to measure it up to. And I wonder why the scripture tells us to be like children. Because they don't have to think about these things. They just love because we having fun. We having fun. We jumping, we playing, we riding bikes, we playing video games. I don't care what you look like. Ain't none of us got no political affiliations. But it's the parents that project that on the child, and then they grow up, and then they start to develop this implicit bias. So there's a story in the Bible, and I'm not going to be long. There's a story in the Bible, there's a narrative that was very interesting to me, because there was implicit, the people in this, the people in this particular story really showed off their implicit biases, really. So we're going to go to Numbers chapter 12. Numbers chapter 12. So starting at verse 1. And it goes from verse 1 to verse 15, but we're not going to read it just all the way through. I'm going to stop because there's some stuff I need y'all to see that was very interesting to me. And implicit bias really showed up in this story, right? So when you look at this text, you got Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. And right here in this text, it says Miriam and Aaron talked against, somebody say against Moses behind his back because of his Cushite wife. He had married a Cushite woman. I'm going to read that one more time. Miriam and Aaron talked against Moses behind his back because of his Cushite wife. He had married a Cushite woman. They talked behind his back because of who he married. Now, for those of you that don't know, Moses married a woman that was from a people that was located in the northeastern part of Africa. We know it historically as Ethiopia. In certain Jewish literature, they use the term Cushite, which means black African people. Don't get tight again. This is not a black and white thing. I'm talking about the implicit bias that Miriam and Aaron had towards Moses. And if you look further in the scripture, it said that Moses was the most humble man on the earth. Dude was just nice and kind, and he did his thing. But Moses and Aaron had an issue with the woman he married. Now, let's not even bring culture or race into it. Some of y'all families, y'all come from families, and some of y'all men or even women, when y'all got married to that specific someone, somebody in your family had an issue with it. They had an issue with it, you know what I'm saying? Women, if you married a certain guy and he didn't make a certain level of money, or he didn't come from a prestige family, or he didn't have this, or he had a certain political affiliation, or you didn't like his Facebook post, your family let you know about it. I don't know about him. I'm not sure about him, but if you love him. So let's not even bring culture into it. Let's just bring the implicit bias, because you look at his Facebook post, or you look at how he dressed, or you look at how he think, or how he talk, and you immediately don't agree with it. So therefore, you express that you have an issue with it. That's what went on with Aaron and Miriam. They was like, they talked about Aaron and Miriam behind her. See, this is why I said the dinner table is easy, because you can fake a conversation at the dinner table. The real conversations go when you get in the car and drive home. I love all y'all, and I'm about to be very blunt. I love all y'all, I really do. But I know that the conversations about me and my dread-headed family are slightly different when you leave out of our presence. Can I be real with y'all? And I don't know who it is. This ain't nothing personal. I ain't calling nobody out subliminally. I ain't got to be looking around like, oh, who he talking about? But let's be honest. Me and my black family came in a predominantly white church and area, and we don't all agree on the same things. So I would be crazy to assume that we are just all right and we ain't got nothing to work through because we just love one another and everything is all good. No, be real. We don't agree on everything. And that's okay. Where the problem lies is that if you disagree with me, does that change how you treat me? If I didn't vote in your direction, does that change how you look at me? That's where the problem is. I'm totally fine with disagreeing with whoever about anything. But when it changes how you treat me, or when it changes how you treat my children, then I have an issue with you. Respectfully. And I'm a non-confrontational dude, but it's just certain things I don't really let you touch. And again, the disagreement is cool, but when that changes how you speak to me and how you look at me and how you talk about me. Listen, inclusivity, the type of inclusion that Jesus examined, this was the inclusivity that played a part even when you was behind closed doors. Jesus wants to challenge that thing in your heart that makes it comfortable for you to say what you can in the front, but when the door's shut, the conversation is different. This is what Jesus wants to work with. Right? This is what Jesus wants you to wrestle with and grapple with, because if you're going to carry out the gospel, your behind doors conversations has to change. Because this is what happens. Our mouth follows a script. Our body language follows what we said behind the door. our mouth. We got a manuscript. We was just talking about that. We got lines that we can say, but the body language follows what you say when you're not around me. And just so you know, some people read that. Some people, me and my wife, we call it fake nice. Nice nasty. Nice nasty. You throw the nice out, that's the bait, but the rod is so nasty. So Jesus wants to challenge that conversation. Because we come to church, we know how to play church. We know how to do that. We've been raised to do that. We even see it on TV. I don't like how they portray it on TV, but we see it on TV. As soon as something, listen, I've even played church before. As soon as I step foot in the door, it ain't me no more. It's church D'Eric. And sometimes church D'Eric ain't the same D'Eric once he get in the car. And if y'all can be honest with me, you're the same way. Y'all quiet. It's cool. You might not be a vocal person, you might not be a social person, so you don't vocally say things, but you got this uncomfortable feeling because you was just around people that you don't agree with. And that's the thing that Jesus wants to challenge. So Miriam and Aaron, when Moses decided to marry this Ethiopian, dark-skinned, black African queen, they had an issue with it. So much so, let's go to the next verse. Now the man Moses, no, go back for me. Yeah, okay, so right here, because he married a Cushite woman, then they said, is it only through Moses that God speaks? Doesn't he speak through us? They didn't like who he married so much so that they started to question his relationship with God. Now, Moses, y'all, does he even know God? Does he even, his relationship with God gotta be shaky for him to marry somebody like this. I mean, this just ain't, and this is just not what I saw. That's that different Jesuses that people serve. That's that different gods that people serve. That's that church that's sitting right next to another church that can't agree on the same thing, but yet we claim we serve the same God. This is that implicit bias. This is, I don't agree with who you connect yourself with. I don't agree with the things you do, so I'm going to just be a parking lot aside from you, and I ain't going to never step foot in your parking lot. And if one of your members put their feet in my parking lot, I'm going to march over to your church for the first time and say something about it. We act the same way. They had an issue with who he married, and they questioned his integrity and his relationship with God. But what makes God so dope is that he spoke up for Moses, right? And look what he said about Moses. Next verse. Now, the man Moses was quietly, how should I say that? Quietly, humble man, more so than anyone living on earth. God broke in suddenly on Moses and Aaron and Miriam, saying, come out, you three, to the tent of meeting. The three went out. Keep going. God descended in the pillar of cloud and stood at the entrance of the tent. He called Aaron and Miriam, the two that had the problem with who Moses married. He called them. And to him, he called Aaron and Miriam to him. When they stepped out, he said, listen carefully to what I'm telling you. If there is a prophet of God among you, I make myself known to him in visions. God is just laying out, this is what I normally do. When there's a prophet among you, I make myself known to him in visions. I speak to him in dreams. Here's the distinction. But I don't do it that way with my servant Moses. He has the run of my entire house. I speak to him intimately, in person, keep going, in plain talk without riddles. He ponders the very form of God. Now, let's pause right there for a second. These are the thoughts you should have about everyone, regardless of what they look like, talk like, or whatever. I'm cool if you don't agree. We're not saying you need to agree with everybody. But what I'm saying is everyone ponders the image of a good God. At the core of who they are, God is still for them. I understand they don't say things you like. They don't do the things that you like. They don't wear the things that you like. They don't vote the way that you like. But at the core of them, God is still for them. If we just took a second to just say they ponder the very image of God, I guarantee you that thought from your heart will influence how you treat someone. So God took offense, and he said, so why did you show no reverence or respect in speaking against my servant, against Moses? That's real similar to what Jesus said in Matthew when he said, what you've done to the least of these, you've also done to me. When you treat other people, when you degrade other people, when you're mean, when you're nice nasty to other people, you didn't just do it to that person. Because the very thing that you don't like about that person can be very well changed by their encounter with you. You don't like the way they look at certain things? They may look at that way because they've never seen it that way. They've never lived it that way. There's some experiences that I have that you have never had. What sense does it make for you to be opinionated about how I lived my life when you've never lived it? When you've never lived in my neighborhoods, you've never dealt with the people I've lived with, your only base bottom of information is what you saw on TV. So now you assume that that's what I'm living through. I lived in the hood. Everything that's on Law and Order ain't what it is. I lived in certain spaces. I've dealt with certain people. Everything you see in movies and on TV is not the same thing. My numbers may be very wrong, but a lot of your criminology TV shows, only 9% of them are black writers. That should say a lot. And that only leads me to believe that there is an implicit bias in the writing of these shows. Rightfully so. I'm not mad at it, that's just the truth. We just need more black writers writing these things. We need more people who have experiences. Moms, I'm pretty sure you can hate some of the narratives that they show on single moms, on moms that are dealing with certain issues or dealing with this type of kid or dealing with this type of kid. I hate how they portray that in TV. That should incline you to say something about it or become the writer that they need to have in order for us to get a wider scope of what this really is. That's just the truth. That's just what it is, right? So implicit bias is something we all experience day in and day out. We have it within ourselves. The people we live with, the people we serve with, we all have it. But the thing is, God is saying, I want you to work with this thing right here because this is the wedge that's keeping you from loving the way I do. So God took offense to how they treated him, and they said, how could you not show any reverence or respect for how you spoke against him? And the question I have to ask you is the same thing. How do you feel comfortable? Okay, let me give y'all this, and I'm almost done. Seriously, 5 more minutes. If you know me, and I'm talking about De'Eric, if you know me and my wife and my children, and you spend some time with us, and you know the conversations we have, and we like to joke around, we like to have fun. You get to see our perspective on certain things. If you don't know me, I'm gonna tell you now, my son has a fascination with guns, right? He does. I took him to the gun range for the first time a few weeks ago, and dude was like better than me, and he's 7. I mean, I hit it on the target, but like dude was 7, and he was so calm and so disciplined. I mean, dude knew not to put his finger on the trigger until he was aiming right at his target. Dude was like built for this, right? So this fascination or this affinity that he has for guns may carry out with him for the rest of his life. He also loves hunting. My son is really one of the first dread-headed black boys that wears a camouflage hoodie. I ain't never seen it. But that's just his affinity. That's just what he loves, right? So my son is going to get older, and he's going to have this affinity for guns. But because he has a father, I'm going to teach him to go about it the right way, get your concealed license, make sure you're trained, make sure you know what you're doing. He's going to grow up, he's going to know what to do, right? If my son drives through your neighborhood and he got guns in his trunk because he's headed to go hunt, and you know Malachi, and the police pull him over and question why he has guns in his trunk, and you see this from your porch, I want to know, will you stay back and let the altercation happen the way it's going to happen? Or will you at least come over and say, hey, is everything okay? I know Malachi is. I just want to make sure everything's good. You're not intruding on what the cop is doing. You're not trying to keep him from doing his job. You just letting him know, I know him, I have an affiliation with him, and I know that he's a good kid. Is everything okay? That's what I want to challenge. That's what I want to know, because if you know me and my children, if I know you and your children, if I know what you're about, and I can come to your aid and say, hey, Austin is cool. Is everything all right? Is everything okay? His wife is pregnant. I don't want things to get out of hand. I just want to make sure everything's cool. Y'all good? That's what God, that's the inclusion in your heart. That's not the inclusion. That's not the temporary inclusivity that you can give at the dinner table. Like I said, that's easy. But when you go home, do you feel the same way about me and my children when you're at home and we're not in your presence? It goes both ways. It ain't just how white people feel about black people. It's black, white, Asians, Cushite, Ethiopian. It don't matter who it is. It's how we interact with one another. And Jesus is saying, I want to challenge the inclusivity that you have in your heart. And I believe if we get to a place like that, we won't be striving to get to heaven because we already brought it here. We ain't got to worry about crime and what the police do to our black brothers and sisters. We ain't got to worry about that because we all look out for one another. And we've all wrestled with this implicit bias that we have towards other people. Men have wrestled with it with how they have it about certain women. Women towards men, black and white, black and brown, black and green. It don't matter. I've wrestled with these things. I've asked myself certain questions, and I've had to deal with how I feel about certain things, and I've had to ask myself, where did it come from? Do I really feel this way about this person, or has this been fed to me? Included. Somebody say included. Tim, you can come out and you can play because I'm done. But I wanted you to see why I had an issue with this message. Because I just had to share with you how to treat me. I just had to share with you how we should treat one another. I just had to share with you how we should be, not just in these four walls, but even when we're not in the presence of one another. I wanted to inspire and encourage you to wrestle with that implicit bias that we all have about one another. I want you to get to a place where we can disagree on things, but our disagreement doesn't change how we treat one another. I want you to get to a place that what I actually said in front of you is what I say when I'm not around you. There's some people who has really blessed me and my family, seriously, because of their thoughts towards us, right? And I got to give it up to Hill City. Me and my wife transitioned here right before COVID hit, and right before the whole racial tension was going through the roof. and we managed to make it through that. It's weird, but I don't think there was a better time to transition here. Because if we can make it through when certain things hit the fan, and we can still be nice to one another, here's the thing. I'll even accept nice nasty if that means you came from a place of being just nasty. I'll accept that. I'm cool. I'll be okay with the fact, man, we had a good time with her. I know she's gonna talk different when she get home, but we had a good time with her though. I'm cool with that if I knew that you came from a place of being nasty all the way around. Because that's some progress. I could take it. You added nice to your menu. But wouldn't you want to live and be amongst people who, regardless of what we vote, regardless of what we think about certain things, we can still have kingdom thoughts towards one another? Pastor Shannon said it last week. He said, be curious, be safe, and be kind. Was that the other one? Right? I love the be curious part because this really shows itself in conversations. Before there's a debate, before there's an argument, be curious. Just say, I never thought about it that way. And then respectfully disagree, and then go home and do some research. Because what they're talking about may be true, I just never lived it. That saves an argument, that saves a debate, and we don't have to get up from the table talking different about people when we leave their presence. We can actually invite them to another dinner or see them again in another function or another event and have a better approach to one another because, hey, I actually looked at the disparity you was talking about over in this part of Louisville, and you were right. Them numbers are crazy. And I wanted to know, what can we do about that? Is there something we could bring to Pastor Shanik or Pastor De'Eric or Pastor Corey, and is there something we can give to? Is there something, because I never saw that. Because implicit bias, it comes from a place of the place that you place in. You only gonna learn and know what you learn and know. If you don't stretch yourself and see things from a different point of view, you just won't know that point of view. Just don't become dogmatic about your one point of view when you haven't experienced the rest of them. I'm done. I said 5 minutes, I went 8. But I love y'all, and I really hope that this message fell on your ears and it at least sparked a question of, what implicit bias am I dealing with? And is that a wedge between how I should love and treat people? And is it keeping me from loving and treat people the way Jesus would? As cliche as it is, what would Jesus do? I wish those bands would come back. If y'all got some, save them. That's a collector's item, because that's a question we all need to ask ourselves in every situation. What would Jesus do? And the truth is, he would include. He would include. So I hope you enjoyed yourself here today. I hope you was challenged. And here's the thing. You could have looked at my message and been like, nah, don't want to hear it. That's totally fine. I'm just letting you know now. Don't let that determine how you treat me, though. At least scoff off and just go ahead and get on out. Is scoff a word? Go ahead and scoff off and just go ahead and get on out, because if you ain't got nothing to say to me, just don't say it. That'll keep the peace right there. If my mama told me, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. There go your first progression to peace. Not saying nothing. And some of y'all need to do that. I love y'all. Listen, we're at Hill City, and y'all know what we believe and what our motto is. You are loved, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. I'll see you guys out in the foyer. Please enjoy your week. We love you all. Thank you so much.
Paid my bills, so why pay attention? That's none of my business. What they think about me, that's none of my business. What they say about me, that's none of mine. That's none of my business. That's none of mine. That's none of my business. That's none of mine. We don't really care. what you talking about, that's none of my business. What they say about me, that's none of my business. What they think